Scions of the Southland for Monday, February 2nd. It is episode number 300, we think. My name is Akshay, and joining me, as always, from a beautiful, chilly Atlanta, Georgia, are Jack, Purdy, and Jake Grant. Jake, congrats on being old. We've hit number 300. What are your first thoughts?
That's not where I thought you were going to go with the after the congrats on being old, but that we'll take it. It's been a long time. If you would have told me we would have hit 300 when we first started this, I would have said no, duh, because this is going to go on forever and nothing will ever change. But you graduate high school, you move, you get jobs and things like that, and we're still kicking. So I guess I was kind of right, kind of wrong, kind of right, technically
Real
correct. I don't know.
Real time follow up. He said graduate high school. I want to make it clear we did
Did I
not
say
start recording
graduate high
this.
You did.
school?
You
We
did.
did not start recording this until
Oh man,
2017. It was the summer, it was the fall of 2017, right?
leave it
When we
in.
went to in the steamy in a steamy hotel room in Tampa Bay. And now when I say that out loud, that actually sounds
That
really
sounds
ridiculous. So
That's
pretty
please
not.
cut
bad.
that out.
Uh, it was just a hot day in Tampa. I remember watching that game and turning it off.
What-
Um, yeah.
have we said where we did the test episode on this before?
I
Jack, do
don't.
you know
I
that
don't.
No,
one?
I don't think I know that
oh no,
answer.
you
That was the
were
day.
well.
That was the day France won the World Cup, and I was at GTL, so I
Oh,
recorded that post France World Cup win in
wow.
my dorm in the evening after that. So
I I
yeah,
watched.
that was a
I think.
long time ago.
I think Akshay and I were in the same building during that game without knowing each other. I'm just gonna take a
Huh.
random guess. You were in Mercedes-Benz Stadium that day
Yes, I will.
because they
Was
opened
I?
this.
That was 20.
This is 2018, and they opened the stadium early ahead of our game
That's like
against the Sounders, and we were the
Ah,
nat,
it
and we
must
yes.
have
were
been
the and
like
we were the
10
glow,
a.m. for you, didn't
and
it?
they opened the stadium at like 11 a.m. or whatever, and so but we were the World Cup final was the global lead in, into the Atlanta United versus Seattle Sounder match that
Oh
afternoon.
yeah, which was absolutely anti-football. It was
Yes,
disgusting.
it was out
It
of
was
game.
awful. I'm
For
trying to
for all of
find.
my I was gonna say for all my GTL fans out there, or graduates, attendees, I don't know what you call experiencers of GTL. I went to the pizza box above Paul for dinner that night. I still remember, formative memories, right, guys? That's how you celebrate a World Cup win? Question mark.
I don't want
Does
to
that count
like
as a
make
win? I'm just some guy. I don't
maybe I don't
follow
want to
much
make you feel
soccer, you
old,
know.
but they don't call it that anymore. The program, it's no longer GTL. They've
See,
gone up the
see,
alphabet to GTE.
Jack, I know this fact, but I still call it Comiskey Park in Chicago so
As
they
you
can
should. No,
take
I still call
Georgia
it
Tech
GTL
Lorraine
too.
out of
I
my
still, yeah,
cold, dead hands,
yeah,
you
I still
know.
call it GTL as well, because that's just what it
You
is.
don't
And
want to call it Rate Field?
I do not. No, I do not want to call it that.
Man,
Okay, so I'm going back on Game on Paper, by the way, because I think this is a great way to reminisce on this. Georgia Tech 38, USF 49. This is September 8th, 2018. It was a noon kick at Raymond James Stadium. It was unbearably hot and humid in Tampa that day. And I think all four of us were absolutely delirious for the rest of the day because we sat in that hotel room, turned on a microphone, and at one point, I think Jake in like a very lightheaded moment just started banging on a door trying to make a joke, and that's kind of how it.
that episode is still on this feed. If anyone can scroll back and witness that, I don't know if we'd recommend it at this point, but it's there.
Tobias Oliver, by the way, 0.53 EPA per play, 18 carries, 97 yards, 3 touchdowns. Taquan Marshall,
We
Oh my
should have
god.
won that game.
0.27,
Oh my gosh.
2.7, sorry, 0.27 EPA per dropback.
Oh, good for Taquan.
2 sacks. He had a QBR, which this has to be wrong in our system, but this is currently telling me that he had a QBR of 97.7
No.
because of his rushing performance. His rushing performance is really good, but passing wise, he was 9 of 18 for a buck 73, a touchdown, and 2 picks. What is lost in here, and what I think is not covered in the kickoff return EPA, and maybe is not properly covered, is that USF returned 2 kicks for touchdowns, I think on consecutive kickoffs.
They were.
And we were miserable.
They had to have been, or my brain is just so broken for that game. That was one. It's one of those games you should have won it. I'll say this forever. I think if they win that game, the end of that season looks different. I think the bowl Tech gets into looks different. The way the Paul Johnson era ends looks different. And
That's fair.
honestly,
Yeah.
they were snake bitten the year before too. The UCF game canceled. Tennessee, as everyone knows, bringing it back around to the future look. One more yard. That
hmm
first yard they'll get in the game this coming year is the one that they should have gotten in double overtime. I believe Taquan Marshall kept it
Yeah.
didn't make it
Didn't.
into the end zone.
It was
But
a
Nope.
really, it was a
hey,
bad
dude
read.
had like 600 all-purpose yards in that game. How much can you really
It
blame him,
was
right?
it
And
was a quite a day for my first ever football game as a student.
Oh yeah, I forgot that was your
it
first
was
game.
so
Yeah.
packed. It was so
Yeah.
packed in there that Mercedes-Benz had to build new doors. So
Well, that's right.
took
'Cause
Took
that was
that
forever to
the
one.
get out that night.
that was the
Mhm.
first year of the stadium, and I remember those first. I mean, we're way off topic now, but like I remember those first few United games. It took us way too long to get out of the building, and they're like, "Oh, okay, we'll fix that." And then yeah, those doors were
I have to
done.
say, this is the last thing I'll say on this, but that United season, or like that 2017 season, between football starting their season at the Benz and then also basically going to the stadium every 3 days because there
Yep.
was a soccer game on, was pretty sick.
No, September
Not gonna
2017
lie,
is one of the best months of my life, without a doubt. That was,
it was pretty fun. Yeah.
anyways.
You want to talk about other stadium renovations?
Yeah,
You want to talk
after
about new
indulging ourselves
stadiums?
for 10 minutes on that, right?
Look,
Um,
it's been 6 years. It's been 7 years. 8 years. 8 years. Oh, 8 years. I can't do math.
My
and we're
goodness,
only at 300. There's a couple like 2-3 week breaks in there, but
it's fine. I should
we'll
note
keep ourselves on.
we almost had a really special guest for this one. Like we worked it, we gave it a shot. Uh, they're coming later this year, but I think that's the first time I've teased that we've got someone pretty big lined up. So just imagine 300's weight and value is shifted toward what other random number in the 300 shows up later this year for that
It would be like
episode.
325.
I think
We'll
so.
like
That
How
we'll
sounds
many
about
find
yards
right.
someone's
did
career batting average and
I
just set it to that.
Okay.
hold
We'll
on,
just say
hold
it's
on.
an Omar Garcia
Eddie
Parr episode or
Lee
something like that. It's not
Ivory
Omar Garcia Parr. I did not get Omar as
single
much as I'd love that.
game
Uh,
rushing. Stand by.
This is gonna
How
be
many
great.
how many yards did Eddie Lee Ivory rush for against Air
378,
Force?
378.
Oh, that's too long. We can't
Yeah,
wait
we
that
can't do
long.
Eddie. We can't do Eddie. Yeah, sorry.
No,
Okay,
I
what
knew it
happened with
was
Bobby Dodd
we can
started
Stadium?
just
with the
always
three.
shim
But
it.
anyway,
We'll just shim
yeah.
it.
What happened with Bobby Dodd
This is
Stadium?
this is great podcasting, by the way. Going off the rails in the first 5 minutes. Let's talk about Bobby Dodd Stadium. In Brian Alpert's latest letter for January 2026, I'm just saying, Jack, you have January 2025 listed here.
Oops.
In his latest letter for January 2026, he included some new images of the luxury box sections and the club sections that are coming in the 2026-2027 renovations for Bobby Dodd Stadium as part of the Transforming Tomorrow and Full Steam Ahead campaigns. Uh, Georgia Tech is spending $70 million on stadium renovations that will also include seat backs, if you remember correctly, for every seat other than the bleachers in the student section. And also, they will be putting in a bunch of new video boards. Basically, all of those are being replaced. And then in the northwest corner of the stadium, there will be a new one installed. That also got coverage on Urbanized Atlanta today. Rip
And
curved, but you got urbanized.
I almost typed curbed in our notes. I'm not gonna lie. That site's been gone for
It's run by
years,
the same
but
people.
yeah. Josh Green, I appreciate his coverage on all things Atlanta. If you guys don't know, atlanta.urbanized.city, great website. Go check them out. And I also appreciate that Josh mentioned the volleyball and basketball upgrades. I feel like we've been waiting for the O'Keefe modernized concourse, etc. for what? Probably the whole length of this podcast at this point, right? Wasn't
Yeah,
that a Todd project?
yeah, because I remember we discovered it on a project list probably in 2018, and we talked about how
Mhm.
cool it would be to have a completely new arena, and then we never heard about it ever again.
Yeah. It was there. I swear. I saw it with my own eyes on the website, not actual plans and stuff. But no, great coverage. I think it's always interesting to see something that, we know well, or somebody watching or listening might know well. To see somebody else talk about it with kind of a neutral eyes, and obviously it's kind of all just generally good stuff and good coverage. But always a nice perspective to be like, oh yeah, like this is how other people are seeing it. So, the phrase, I'm gonna scroll to it. Level up the game day experience as Georgia Tech enjoys an era of renewed gridiron relevance. So this is what the architecture heads are saying, everyone.
A couple other notes just in terms of campus construction. The two Tech Square Part 3 towers were opened to start the semester. I guess we're now a month late on that, but those the first few floors are open now
Yep.
for student use. They look pretty nice from the renders and some of the interior design that we've seen. They're very Clough-y or Culky if you're into that. Um, and the exterior design is also very, very Scheller. Very, very Scheller. So there's that. There's one more construction project I was thinking of. Oh, yes. I walked by the construction site for the Fanning Center a couple of weeks ago now. That is coming along very nicely. I think that is supposed to deliver in its entirety by the start of fall, like fall 26.
Oh,
I
it'll
assume
be
they
open in
want it
summer. It'll be open in
yeah,
summer.
I assume they wanted open. I wanted it open for summer camp. But yeah, so that's all also coming along. A lot of change on campus. Even if you don't, especially that football stadium, that is going to look completely different. Maybe the next time some of us step in there. Let's talk about basketball. The not ranked and kind of sliding Georgia Tech men's basketball team first. They are 11-11. They posted two losses last week, first to Virginia Tech by 6 points. And then on Saturday, in a well, I guess it wasn't prime time, but in a whiteout fixture versus UNC, they got drubbed at home, 91-75. That VT game at that 6 point margin was a lot closer than it seemed. Tech was down, or Georgia Tech was down 15 with 5 minutes left in the game and somehow got it to six. So,
That's not the first time they've done that this year. I feel like Miami was kind of like that too, where it's like, let's make a push and then, just kind of
Not much. Not enough. Not
not
enough of
much
a
from
push.
there.
Yeah.
Not enough in the tank. But yeah.
mhm. Jack, you were at least at the UNC game.
Yeah.
What was the skinny on that one?
I got there a little bit earlier than I usually would do for a game just because I knew they had sold out. It was a nice little crowd. Actually, and by a nice little crowd, I mean it was sold out because the other team bought the tickets, not because we bought the tickets. Now we know North Carolina fans have a big presence in Atlanta, so it's not a surprise they're going to go see their team when they're playing locally. As no problems there with that. Just hate that in a game where we got the entire student section full over a half hour before the game, which is not a common occurrence anymore whatsoever. Um, that they were not the only Tech fans there, but it kind of felt like it for a lot of it just because of how much. I'm pretty sure North Carolina had over 50% of the seats in McCamish for that game, just based on noise level and just the amount of not white I saw and baby blue in the pavilion. Not the best. There's a very weird. This game was weird statistically, like in terms of like shooting numbers and things like that. It looks really similar, except the fact that North Carolina had two total turnovers, which according to their uh, SID guy was like they're tied for their fewest in team history or something. And they scored. And we had 12, and they scored 18 points off those turnovers, and we did not score a single point off a turnover. So there's your margin right there, just in that. They also had a lot of second chance points. Mosilla has been out again, and that really hurt us around the rim because they had some tall freaking dudes that made paint presence hard for us to execute well.
This team is
I don't have a
still
lot
in
to
a
add there,
very
man. Like
weird.
yeah, they're in
It's in
kind
a
of no man's
malaise.
land,
But
right?
Bai did have 27 points. He actually looked really good in the game. We've been
That's
saying,
good.
hey, let's see some Bai. Bai needs to step up here in some spots, and he did it. So that was very very happy to see that. He had a great game, all things
Good.
considered. So that I mean, bright spots are bright spots, but again, losing by 16 and not really being competitive the entire, at least not really having a real shot at the lead for the entire game is not gonna be a lot. North Carolina, I mean, they were 16th ranked. That we've never held a candle to ranked teams this entire year. Like that's just we only lost this one spot in Ken Palm over the week, so like we're pretty much just at expectation this week for all things considered
I
for these
think
two
that's
games.
more damning than anything else. Is
Yeah,
that you get blown out and you only move you only go one spot down is
Yeah,
pretty
Torvik didn't even move us. Like at this point, Ken Palm and Torvik have us. There were one spot away from each other if you put those two rankings side by side. So the book is out on us, and it's very clear where we stand in the
not a great book.
grand scheme of the rest of the country. So I will note Alex Fair from Jackets Online did ask Dame in the press conference, like, hey, how are you feeling about it's like, do you feel secure in what you're doing? Like, like, what's your comfort level? Do you think you should, like, are you feeling it? Like, basically just asking the hot seat question. And Dame was pretty forthright. He's like, I know what I'm not doing. I know we're not doing good enough. He's like very forthright that it all falls on him. Didn't deflect the question or anything like that. He knows knows what they're not good enough at because he says no one's harder on himself than him. And so I certainly don't doubt the ability of this team to know what they're not doing well and what they need to pick up on and improve. But also, there's a mix of there is a talent shortfall in some spots, and we're just not good enough to beat a lot of these really big teams. Cam Kraft was a nice bright spot. He shot the three ball well. So I want to say that, like, oh, okay, now you put this thing together, and maybe you can find some surprise wins here. But it's gonna take, and I think this happened against Duke when we almost beat them earlier this year. It's like Duke wasn't having a good day. Like this only works out against teams that don't play well against us. And just not having, if we just the current point guard situation isn't as good as when we had Nate George. Like that's just plain and simple. Nate was able to really get the ball dished around, and really create some offense, and we don't have that replicated right now. If you want to fix it, bring your cash, because we got basically this is a money problem right now. Basketball is very money run, and we don't have the ammunition to compete with the rest of the stuff right now. This will be a priority of the athletic department going forward, because I know Alpert needed to get the Brent Key thing solved, make sure he was signed and everyone was happy, got through that, and now I know this is going to be a bigger priority for them down the line, along with Bobby Dodd Stadium. So, does that mean Damon still has a job after the season? No clue. Probably not if I had to be a betting man right now, but purely that is pure speculation, purely just based on results, not on anything we actually know. But if we win some games, great. Please go win the games. Like there's nothing to lose here. Just go win. There's nothing to lose here. We don't get draft picks. There's no transfer compensation. Like it's just
Oh, don't even get me started on transfer compensation, my guy. Don't get me started. I was just at a soccer conference. I can talk all day about transfer fees right now.
But yeah.
Speaking about the next three fixtures on the schedule for men's basketball, they'll play Cal on Wednesday the 4th. They'll play at Stanford on Saturday the 7th, and then they'll host Wake Forest. Wow, I got all three of those wrong. They'll host Wake Forest next Wednesday. Curiously, those two tips in California are both at 8 a.m. Eastern. They're PT.
8 p.m. Eastern.
Did I say 8 a.m.?
Yep.
Classic. I'm really, really doing well on the podcast for today.
Jake's still in high school, and Akshay, thanks for playing at 4 a.m. local time. It's great.
Look, I was a fan of Midnight Madness. We should just keep doing that, right? But yes, 8 p.m. I assume those are both Eastern time because they're posted on Tech's website. However, if I'm forced to watch ACC basketball at 11 p.m. On a Wednesday or a Saturday night, I'm not sure I'm going to be particularly happy. Let's flip over to the women's side of the Zelnak Center. They are 87th in the Torvik rankings, a nice little one-spot bump, and are now coming off a 2-1 week at 10-13. They posted a victory, an 11-point victory over Florida State away. Took a little bit of a bounce down versus Cuse on the road, 94-70, and then bounced back with a victory at home versus Boston College, 70-60. In that Cuse game, that was the never close. But then, the flip side in this Boston College game, that final score is a lot closer than the game actually was. Jack, anything to add on this 3 game run for the women's basketball team?
We had said, I think last week, like, hey, let's see. This is the beginning of like, okay, has this team like really, really turned the corner in terms of doing what they need to do to put up to show improvement and show that they've gelled this year. The Boston College win, I think, is hard to represent that because Boston College has won, I think, 4 or 5 games this entire year, and that was their 15th straight loss. Like they're. I mean, talk about a team that just doesn't have the ammunition as other ACC schools. Like they're dead last in all those rankings and whatnot, and just anywhere you can think about it. So they're fighting from behind just from the beginning of everything, and so their team. What I was noting with my friend that I went with was like they can't shoot, like they just were just shooting bricks all day. They eventually got some shots to land late garbage time, which is why this became a 10-point game after it was around a 15 to 20 point lead the whole time. So this was a very cruise control game. So I think the thing that there is like, okay, against the worst team in the conference and one of the worst teams in college basketball, you did exactly what you're supposed to do. Like that. I like that. But the Cuse game, I think, is still automatic. And Cuse is also good. Like they're probably going to make the tournament this year. And so on the road, a second game on the road in a few days, and a long flight too, because they were in Tallahassee. Then you go to Atlanta. Then you go to upstate New York. So they're not the best travel
That's a
situation.
crazy travel situation, by the
That's
way.
not a
That's
good travel
only
situation.
I think they might not have gotten back till Monday because I didn't see the Breeze charter come in from Tallahassee on the radar until Monday because I think they turned around with the men to bring them on their trip up to Blacksburg as well. So
I see.
if they're gone multiple days and extra days on top of that,
It's not
that's
a great
pretty
situation.
tough.
It's not. Yeah, it's not great, and they're a much better team than us right now, anyway. So, I mean, our Torvik move only moved up one this week, so I don't think this is a they held serve kind of thing. I would say, which is
Yeah.
progress. That's real progress, though. Like I say this in a very monotone, kind of flat way, but all things considered, like that's great. I will take this in a heartbeat. 2-1 for this stretch is good. And we've got the California teams coming to the Cal and Stanford come to us this weekend for basketball, while the guys go out there. And those are both going to be hard games. If we can win either of these games, that's freaking crazy. Like that'll be some serious improvement if we can get a win against Cal or Stanford. And I really hope we do, because that would be that would really put a stamp on like, okay, Karen's got something. If Karen can make that work with the hand she has right now, which is I mean, in all honesty, not an elite group. This is not an elite group by any stretch of the imagination. This is who we can put together
yet,
on the fly more than anything.
I was going to say, and yet like the variance monster is there, right? They have they've lost some non-con clunkers, but I mean, and they've lost some pretty objectively large margins in ACC play, but
Yeah.
against teams that we kind of expect them to hold serve once they, kind of gelled mid-December-ish, like
Yeah, it's
they
happening.
punched up
Yeah.
and gotten a couple good wins. They haven't lost to anyone that, we wouldn't have expected to in conference play yet. I don't know. Like you said, a win against Cal or Stanford, or if they got both of those, then that'd be pretty. Then
That's nice. Yeah.
I'd be feeling pretty good. But even going 1-1 would certainly be a Syracuse adjacent quality team, right? If you
Yeah.
could say, hey, we're back in our building on a more normal week or something like that, then I don't know. I haven't seen anything that gives me alarm yet, even though it's, maybe a tougher sledding than um, independent of all other factors. This team kind of had crescendoed last year, right? So it
Yeah.
obviously we knew it was going to be different this year, but it's still a
Right.
tough
And
situation. So,
a good thing coming up is that we only have 3 road games left this season. The furthest away is at Pitt, so I mean, not a bad flight whatsoever. Um, those are our last 3 road games scheduled. If you technically call the ACC tournament a home game, because those games are in Duluth.
oh yeah,
So
I
the
forgot about
furthest
that.
they're traveling until a theoretical postseason tournament appearance is Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So
Hey,
they've
you
got.
say that, but it's also pretty far.
I mean,
It's still like a
well, Pittsburgh
3 hour
ain't
flight.
the
Well,
Pittsburgh.
it's not San Francisco.
Yeah, this like it's not. It could be a hell of a lot worse. What I'm saying is like they go to Clemson. That's just a drive, and then they have a week off before that Pitt game too. Like they're not going to Pitt off of some other city. That's a straight flight there. They will be fully rested going into that game. So that's really helpful. And then they go to Virginia, play Virginia Tech on the way back home. Fine, whatever. And then yeah, three straight and then two home games finish the year between with Louisville and Miami, and then the ACC tournament, 25 minutes north. So like in terms of like ability to have a rest advantage, they're winning this battle, which is who knows
Worth
what that means.
worth mentioning worth mentioning on the back of that, Pitt versus Pitt, they're favored by 10 points, and that's even in Pitt's own building.
Yeah.
And then versus Miami, they're underdogs by 1.7 points, so 2 points in their own building or in at home. Wow,
Yeah.
words. So those are two winnables right there. Well, one of those you should for sure. Pitt is 250th in the Torvik rankings, and Miami is as 54th. So two winnables right there if you can get them. So let's find out. Let's play some basketball. Like Jack said, next two fixtures for this team: Thursday versus California, who are the 44th in the Torvik rankings. That's a 7 p.m. tip. And then Sunday versus Stanford, who are 38th in the Torvik rankings. That is a 2 p.m. tip. Gentlemen, time for some podcast business, perhaps?
Sure, sure. Let's go with podcast business. That works for me. As always, this podcast is brought to you by Section 103. Section 103. They're still over there. Section103.com. As always, you can find 6 great schools, 5 in addition to Georgia Tech over there. I don't think I've talked about this in a while. They do have some more merch. Section 103 stickers. Tell everyone you love Section 103, as well as a couple other things over there. And you can also get gift cards. You may not feel that you can buy a Clemson shirt for someone, but if you give them a Section 103 gift card, then they can do it for themselves. And that's the kind of consideration they have over there at section103.com. It is great merch, great apparel, and we love partnering with them on their fine endeavors. Yeah, tell them we sent you. FTRS code for 10% off. You can find them on Instagram as well and section103.com. Gents, what's next?
Let's talk about softball. The softball season starts this weekend. Did you know that? I had forgotten that completely. This is the part of the sports calendar where everything just sort of happens, and oh boy, I'm just trying to keep up the entire time. 27-24. That was the Georgia Tech softball team's overall record in 2025. They went 10-11 in the ACC. They were eligible for a number 3 seed in the NCAA tournament at the Gainesville Regional, unfortunately losing to Florida Atlantic and Mercer while there. They were buoyed into the tournament by major wins over Oklahoma State, Auburn, and Stanford, but went a disappointing 1-9, a disappointing and uninspiring 1-9, I would say, down the stretch ahead of the tournament. Important to note, and I guess funny to note, they had actually lost to Mercer during the season in March before getting eliminated by Mercer to end the season. So that is a bit of a tough one. Jack, where do we, or I guess Jake, because you raised your hand first, where do we want to start with this one?
Yeah, I did want to say that you should have known this was coming up because you asked me if I was able to go to the game this weekend. So, this is called an own goal in soccer parlance, I think. But
Yeah, I
no,
really kicked this ball into my own net.
yeah, well, we don't really have to go too much into last year. I think kind of hit on some of the stretch notes. It was kind of a interesting end to it, but they made the tournament. Getting postseason berths is a great thing to build on, and like you said, had some major wins. And I think the thing that jumps out at me as we start to kind of flesh this out is they really have a pretty decent amount back, just in terms of talent that is that is in the door. I think that's good to have experience. And Jack, you're looking. Can't tell if you're skeptical at me for saying that,
I'm
or
reading numbers that are small.
or for something else there. I don't want to go straight into the don't want to go straight into the schedule because I know we could go on for days on that. But in terms of pitching, names to remember before we get into new names to know, you've got Michaela Caulfield, Sydney Watts, one to know, Timber Harris. We've got Reese Hunter returning in the catching position. You've got outfielders Paige Vukadinovich, Caroline Patterson, and Alyssa Willer, and then infielders Jaden Gailey, Emma Simon, Addison Leshburr, and Grayson Tucker. So a decent amount from last year's activity. I think if we take a look at just kind of you know metrics and whatnot for appearances, games played, games started. Let's go on games started. Grace Connolly obviously gone, but Grayson Tucker, Paige Vukadinovich both played 51 games. That's a pretty good spot to be there. Emma Simon, I believe, also played in all 51 games as well.
Mhm.
Alyssa Weiler looks like played 42. So you've got a decent amount of that returning talent. So I don't think, guys, that as much as it's a top of the list. Okay, yeah, Grace Connolly gone. That's kind of
Well,
kind of a big one there. But the next what five of the next six are all names we still got around. So that's pretty
yeah,
exciting to me at least. So
I'm looking at the stats sheet from last year based on average. It's like our top five batting averages are all coming back this year. Leshburr,
yep,
Weiler, or Willer, Vukovic, Gailey, and Tucker. Those are all back. We lose
yep.
Gottlieb and Ella Edgman. Man, I love Ella was awesome. And Connolly, and then our bottom two usual rotations of Emma Simon and Reese Hunter are also in there. So it's not. I mean, all the people we needed back offensively are still here. That's the big part that is really good to see. This is not a home run team like we were a few years ago. Like this is a get on base kind of team. Um, at Lechbur's get and Weiler both were 600 plus in slugging, but on base
But
was above 400 for all five of those girls as well. Uh,
but even then too, if you can think, Grayson Tucker taking a step forward as a sophomore to a junior, she
yeah,
led the team in total bases last year and home runs, had five doubles to boot. Like if you think about another year of experience and that kind of thing, a decent step up from her and Addison Leshburr had 8 and 71 total bases. That could if we're just kind of start throwing stuff out there, that could portend well for maybe getting some more power and clearing more bases. Because I think that might have been a place where we had some opportunities last year to make some damage when you think about it.
yeah. There's spots we can. Yeah, I think there's some situational spots we could definitely do better on too. Like if losing to Mercer and things like that wasn't great. I think that's why we're like, are we gonna make the tournament? And then we kept
Oh,
slipping and sliding, and we were like, "Are we gonna make the tournament?" I think we were last four in, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah. It
Um,
was a lot like volleyball this year for people who
I
don't
think
have
they
that
might
level of
have
right.
been the
memory.
literal last team in the
I
tournament,
remember this
if
being
I
a thing we
remember
talked about.
correctly.
They were a
Yeah,
3 seed, right?
yeah,
And Florida Atlantic was the 2 seed in Gainesville, if I
yeah,
remember
yeah. They were,
correct.
yeah,
So
yeah. Mercer, yeah,
Tech
Mercer.
didn't even see the host in that
No, we
in
didn't
that
play
region.
Florida once. Yeah, Mercer was the automatic qualifier, and so that yeah, made life a little bit probably more difficult for us than we wanted it to be. But I mean, yeah, mixed with who we've got returning, it's the pitching that's where I'm like, okay, what is this going to be? Because can we hit? Yeah, but if you can't pitch in college softball, that's it. Like you're done. That you can't get away with it. It's
Yeah.
much more dramatic than Tech baseball, where it's been okay. Yes, we can score 15 runs a game, maybe over the course of a series, but like maybe win 15 to 13. College softball, no. Like it's
And
if you can't pitch, that's it.
and I will say the most emblematic series, at least for my money, and yes, I'm also biased towards this series because I was at two of the games.
Hmm.
But the Stanford series early in the year that they hosted the 28th through of February through March 2nd. So again, really early, young start to the year. They got a close win on Friday night, 5-4, and then the second game of the series. I was late for this one because I was at the men's hoops game right before this. But Tech raced out to a 9-3 lead in the bottom of the fourth and just bled runs back. They gave up three in the fourth, three in the fifth, two in the sixth, and then eight in the seventh. They had enough in the bats to get three back in the bottom of the seventh, but giving up 16 runs in 4 innings is not a way to win ball games. And then the very next day, you come back and lose 2-0. If those games play out a little bit differently, to your point about pitching, I really don't think the relief was quite as much there as we might have liked. And then the bats were a little bit inconsistent when you needed them to be, in that rubber match on the Sunday there. You leave two on base in the fourth and the fifth. You leave one on base in the sixth, seventh, and third. Like, they had chances, maybe even as many or more than Stanford did. So that's the emblematic series. And if they can take steps forward in both of those things, this is a tournament team, straight up.
I mean, look, last year, I'm looking at the Diamond Sports rankings. They finished 45th in the DSR from D1 softball, and they had the
Mhm.
15th ranked strength of schedule.
They played a
So,
hard schedule. They played a really hard schedule.
gentlemen, you want to do our favorite game, the schedule reading?
Let's talk
Should we
about the
talk about
players
newbies
first.
first?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I keep scrolling around in our shot sheet. So, shall we start with the top? Maddie Duffel, infielder from East Coweta High School. Abby McGinnis, outfielder from GAC. Reagan Wall, outfielder from James Madison. Holly Medina, utility infielder from California. Peyton Miller, a catcher from North DeSoto High School in Shreveport. Note there, three-time state champion, by the way. Landry Pick, infielder, Rysel, Texas. Gracie King, utility infielder, Boone, Iowa. Charlotte Smith, pitcher from North Atlanta High School. Julia Marisi, utility infielder, Kell High School, Marietta. Victoria Bryant, pitcher, Lumberbridge, North Carolina. Kenley Hillary, pitcher, KSU. Madeline Johnson, pitcher, James Madison. And Katie Cunane, pitcher, Mount Perrin Christian. So, I mean, at least in terms of the pitching, when you say that they got to figure this out, they brought in a lot of talent on that, and it might make sense to start there, maybe.
Yeah, I mean it's two transfer pitchers from that have already pitched at the college level. There was an obvious need there to make sure there was some backfield talent that you could rely on if in case not all the freshmen worked out. And we usually haven't seen freshman pitchers do have that much responsibility in the Aileen Morales era. Of course, like, experience plays into it. Like, an 18-year-old's only going to be as good as a 21-year-old or 22-year-old, especially as the sport got older in the last couple of years, with the COVID rules and everything like that. So that's big. That's big. I mean, Caulfield had some good numbers last year. Timber had some good numbers last year. Sydney Watts was very highly touted. Like, she was very, very good in high school. And so if she can evolve further, like, that's at least three. Like, okay, we've seen these girls pitch. We know they can do something here, but the main question is going to be: is anyone going to be an ace? Like, we got to know that we've got someone that who can pitch the first and third games of these first, third, whatever, however many games you got on a weekend. But, like, that's my big, like, hinge point of if the season is going to work or not, is if someone stands out.
And can I just say a quick note, because we did talk about transfer about pitching and whatnot. I did take a look at Kenley, Hillary, and Kennesaw. Guys, Kennesaw went 12-41 last year, so this was not a super awesome team, but holding down a 3.59 ERA is pretty
It's
decent.
good.
49 walks, 49 strikeouts, 41 earned runs. That's she didn't have the most appearances. Had 80 innings pitched, but gave up I think that's 54 runs in that. So, your clip's pretty decent there. I think there's a decent amount to like. Only gave up 7 home runs. So that's a decent amount to work with, and you bring in somebody with a little bit of experience and
Yeah.
one that saw some pretty decent opponents. I need to flip over to James Madison here too, but
How many innings did you say there?
going the what did I? Oh, sorry. Stand by. Innings pitched. 80 innings pitched.
80. That would have been second most on the team last year if she
Yeah.
played for us.
Mm-hmm. I am going to check James Madison here. I just need to flip back over to that. So give me 1 sec.
That is one thing to know, is that we allowed a decent amount of homers last year. Boyles was getting hit. Caulfield and Watts also were getting hit.
Yeah,
decently
when they
hard on
missed
that
their
front.
spots, they missed really bad. That was a constant theme with every pitcher on the mound, is that when they missed, it was just baseball or softballs were getting put in the outfield.
Yep.
Yeah, and shoot, I was looking for a specific game for Kennesaw, but it doesn't matter. We'll figure it out. I'll go pivot and see what I can get on James Madison if you guys got other newbie notes.
Yes, Maddie Duffel, I think is good. This is a good get here. She was a 4-year starting shortstop, so she may not. I mean, it's Emma Simon's job right now, but she had a 5.25 career average as a hitter. So that's not nothing. I mean, it's high school, but that's not nothing. She was a state player of the year a few years ago at the 7A level in Georgia, so that's not nothing either. A lot of these players like were in that mix of like really good for their state kind of thing. Julia Marici was the best defensive player of the year in 2023, which is nice. Also, I'll note like a lot of these players sign 4 semesters ahead of when they actually start playing here because of how the signing calendar works and when the softball season starts for college versus high school. And so a lot of these players have been around the system for a while, but just haven't played games. Uh, so that's a nice thing about how the calendar works for softball in particular. I know Johnson had 2 complete games last year. That's a good little note there. Um,
Started 12, 2 complete games, ERA of 4.59, so a little bit higher. Gave up 35 earned runs, sorry, in 53 innings pitched. So, not quite the same level of workload, I think, as the alternative, but freshman, probably something to like there.
Hopefully, yeah. Back, it's an
That's why
arm.
you sign them, right? Like
Yeah,
I
it's
assume
an
we
arm.
see something that fits in that piece.
Yeah,
So.
I think the last big
Oh,
roster note. Go ahead.
the one thing that does jump out, 60 strikeouts in those 53 innings pitched. So,
Like that. I like that. That's good.
yeah,
The
versus 28 walks. Yeah, we'll take
like
that.
that. The last big new person note is Reagan Wall. She was an outfielder at James Madison. She started most of their games in right field last year and hit almost 300. Knowing we lost some outfield presence last year, that's a big hole fixed right there. With someone who played well in the Sun Belt. So I'm
And the
happy.
Sun Belt's a tough league too.
Yeah,
I can't let that go by without being
yeah,
said.
that's the big thing. Yeah, I mean, most of our returning production is in the infield. Whether Willer will be out there, Vukadinovic will be out there somewhat, Patterson will be out there somewhat, but that's a maybe doesn't start every game kind of thing, but that's a real player that can play day one. We have we have a pretty big opponent first weekend, shall I say, in the Buzz Classic.
Go for it, Jack.
Sure. We play Bama. Hooray. Uh, and Bama's ranked. We also have Villanova in that. That's this weekend. We play Nova first and then Bama. So, uh, first weekend. We play so many games that I don't think we have put like our heart and soul into like saying out looking the rest of the season based on this weekend. But we might learn something pretty cool if we can manage to beat Bama. I wouldn't mind that in the slightest.
if if Tech can go 5-1 on this weekend, which I realize sounds a little bit lofty, but if they go 5-1 in any form or fashion, I'm really really high
Well,
on
that
this team
requires
pretty
beating
fast.
Bama. So I
It
wouldn't
does.
mind
It
that.
does. That's why I said in
At
any form
least
or fashion. If
once.
you get 2 Bama wins, yeah, it's my stretch goal, right?
Yeah.
A 4-2 and look competitive in both Bama games. That's a pretty darn good start. But this team's got some experience. It's really going to be a question mark on this pitching and closing out games, I think. So
Also, upcoming after that, they'll play Florida twice in Gainesville at their weird Florida Invitational tournament. They'll host a very unique set of teams for the I-75 tournament at home. That'll be Purdue, College of Charleston, and Yale. They'll go to Iowa during their ACC bye week to play Iowa and South Dakota State. And then here is your ACC schedule in order. I don't actually know which of these are home and away, but Notre Dame, Clemson,
home.
Virginia, Duke,
Oh,
Louisville,
sorry.
Boston
I was going to shout it
College,
out. Keep going.
Virginia Tech, and FSU. So your run in of VT and FSU is tough sledding there, but
Woo.
Notre Dame is about an even opponent. Clemson, obviously, still kind of juggernauty there. Duke, right in the smack dab in the middle of the schedule, is tough, but I think some of these games are here to win, and sort of cement your claim on being like the second tier in the ACC here.
I'm I'm free. I can say it. After 4.5 years, I can say you got to beat Louisville. You have to win that
Yes,
series.
you said
You gotta
it.
you gotta you gotta beat or sweep Boston College. That is a must as well. Virginia Tech on the road. That's tough. Florida State we missed in the regular season last year because of events. We don't need to get into that, but getting them at home that's also tough. They close the year with Florida State at Mewborn and Virginia Tech on the road. You have to have a bid or being looking in good shape on the 15th of April. It kind of
Yeah,
like last year, right? Like
yeah.
a enough on your resume to be like, we played the hard teams, we did the work, we won some games on the road, we took care of Boston College, Louisville. Uh, Duke's going to be a tough. Duke's going to be a tough slate. Virginia's a better team than they used to be, and Clemson, Notre Dame's historically a middling to tournament type of team. This is not going to be an easy year. It could very much be a what 28 and 20. I don't know how many total games are on the schedule because I didn't count them all individually, but
A lot.
a 28 and 27 type record with the right wins in the right places and the right losses in the right places might very well be pretty darn close to tournament
I
quality.
I
That
mean,
sounds that
look,
sounds
you
like
get
last that sounds like last year.
yeah. I mean, like, look, you get that you get a couple wins versus, or you get a win versus Alabama as that signature in the Buzz Classic. You maybe take one off of Florida, you take Purdue, you take Iowa, you take, I don't know,
Mississippi State,
a
they get
half,
midweek, maybe. That's at home.
yeah, like you take a half dozen from some combination of Clemson, VT, and Florida State
Yeah.
and Duke somewhere in there.
Who knows? They
Uh,
don't play Auburn this year. They have the Georgia games in Athens this year. West Georgia's added to the schedule now that they're all in D1. Um, so our local midweekers are not as strong as usual, I guess, considering there's no Auburn on the calendar and Alabama's in there, but that's not a midweek kind of thing. So that's there. I don't know I don't know if you can call it
I don't
missed
know.
opportunity there.
Mississippi State's a
That's good.
pretty
Yeah, I'll
good
take that. Yeah,
replacement for a midweeker. Like
I'll take that. I mean, yeah, it's definitely good. We got UAB as part of that. So that's a
you're going to
new
play
ad.
Iowa in their own building. I think South Dakota State was decent last year. Let me check on that.
We might forget to come back to this in 2028 if we still do this thing in 2028. But is there a major player that we recruited from Iowa during this trip that shows up? Because part of these go to somewhere else in the country is halfway a recruiting trip as well, and an exposure thing. So
Yeah.
who the hell knows who we can pull if we end up pulling someone by surprise that's in Iowa City or somewhere in
Okay,
Des
South
Moines or who
Dakota State
knows.
was 115th in RPI last year, so maybe scratch what I said, but I mean that's
Oh,
still not
okay.
bad to play out on the road and in the
No.
cold Midwest. That those are winnable, but not RPI tanking. This, all things considered, and I'll say the same thing about baseball probably too, but they're playing hard schedules, guys. Like
They
there
are.
are not a lot of games where it's like, yeah, that should be a win. It's a lot of tough stuff. But yeah.
Makes sense. Other note going into the softball season, if this is any indicator of the excitement and like building off of the excitement of last year and making the tournament last year, all of the chairback seats at Shirley Mewborn Clements Field or Shirley Clements Mewborn Field are sold out this year.
Wow.
So
Let's go.
very, very exciting stuff. Gentlemen, do we want to do predictions to round out this segment?
Not last
Ooh.
team in. Uh, fourth last
Wow,
team.
you set the bar so high.
Oh, but to because I'm moving it up 3 spots to fourth to last team in.
I I really don't know enough about the ACC's non us non-power teams going into the year. Like I just haven't even thought about Boston College softball in 9 months, right? But like this is a team that should be tournament caliber. I think a two seed would make sense if things kind of break their way. I really don't see them breaking into the hosting picture. They'd have to do a lot that goes really right. And it's really, really tough to finish in the top 16. But that said, I think between the experience they've got coming back and the resume that they can build with what they've got here, a tournament team for sure, and maybe win a game or two in in the tournament this year instead of an 0 for 2. That's my prediction at least. I think they pencil out to be like 32nd to 24th in the country if things break the right or as expected kind of way.
I like that part that you said about winning a couple games of the tournament. Like just making the regional final series, I think would
Yep.
be like the next step forward, based on what we've seen over the last like 3 or 4 years.
Yep.
And just a quick look at the roster. Uh, we've got one senior in Jaden Gailey, two seniors in Addison Leshber, and three seniors in Vukadinovich, four in Reese Hunter. So it's not, and three in Kenley Hillary. But in terms of like spend with the program for multiple years, it's only three seniors, four seniors. So there's a lot of, if this team does well, that's even more returning production next year, depending on how the transfer portal and all the other stuff. Like there's people drop in and out, things like that, with the roster.
Yeah.
But it's it's very promising if this team elevates, knowing that there's a lot of reinforcements and a lot of years left in this team as it stands. Yes, you'll lose some big bats with Gailey and Leshber, but it's still that's still good. Like that's still a lot of players that are going to be relevant in the future around.
I'd describe it as a lot to like. There's a lot that you can like about this team.
Floor raiser kind of team.
Yep. Yep. Just need to win the close ones and keep leads late, right? So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's talk tennis. Pretty fun finish to the Australian Open this past week, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But even more fun for the men's tennis team, a 7-0 sweep of Georgia Southern, swept the doubles points, and then, yeah, just took care of business in the singles. They'll be back in action on Friday versus Charlotte and Tennessee Tech. Anything else on men's tennis, gentlemen?
they did exactly what we needed them to. I got nothing else.
Chris Eubanks was awesome on ESPN. That dude has got that studio role as long as he wants it. I think he is killing it. Love watching him on there.
Awesome. Flipping over to the women, posting a 6-1 loss up in clean old fashioned hate. But Alejandra Cruz defeated the number 8 player in the country that plays out east, 6-4, 7-5. Everything else was kind of rough. Not gonna lie. But they bounced back with a 6-1 win versus UT Chattanooga, and then a 4-0 sweep of Jacksonville State. Any other notes from the women's tennis side of things?
I think their doubles. My note kind of further up the stream was that they've been a little. It feels like they've been a little inconsistent, but much better against Jacksonville State. That could just be the vagaries of a long season where you play a lot of matches. So I'm not going to write too much into it. Would have been nice to see a little bit closer against UGA, but that's how the ball bounces, I guess. The other two matches were exactly what you need to see this time of year from stacking up wins in the non-con slate. So I'm excited for this weekend. I think at South Carolina is really going to be a nice measuring point. So
Gentlemen, anything else? Any other news and notes from the wide world of Georgia Tech athletics?
The Jim Poole jersey has been decided. This is a tradition on the baseball team, basically given to the student athlete that exemplifies Jim Poole's characteristics most. He's a great player for us. This started in 2023 with Jack Rubenstein, then went to Ben King, a friend of the podcast, and then John Giesler last year. And this year it's Carson Ballard. So I mean, you kind of view this as like one of the main captains, one of the main leaders of the baseball team is who gets this jersey. It's a very big honor within the program, and so Carson's been, of course, very instrumental, and it's going to be a big, very important arm this year coming out of coming out of whatever roles he's got this year. So, uh, love having it. I love this. I love this little thing that this team does. Like not every team has like a you get to wear this number kind of situation. In on all the sports, I know football doesn't really have it right now. And it's just what baseball does. And it's a cool little thing and keeps the team connected to the history of the team too. Which, as for the guy who literally has to pay attention to that, as for the day job, I love that they do this because it keeps that front and center for the program. Which we'll cover them. I think we're doing that preview next week or the week after. We'll have to figure that out. But a very good guy to have it. All things there's plenty of options too. So that's the good thing is that they're not short of dudes who deserve that. So now they just got to go win the games.
They gotta
yep.
win so many games, and they're primed to do it. We'll talk about it next week.
Yeah. Indeed. I think one other point. Brian Jean Mary's getting hired by Notre Dame per Football Scoop and probably somewhere else. But yeah, that's news and notes. So long. And I guess so long to you guys in our audience till we speak next week. As always, you can find us from therumbleseat.com. Email us from therumbleseat@gmail.com. Remember, check out gameonpaper.com for all of your advanced stats need for football, because that's what you need in February. On Groundhog's Day, you need more college football advanced statistics. A Game on Paper is the place to get it. I'm pounding my fist for emphasis. But yes, go check them out there. You can find us on Blue Sky, FTRS blog. I'm over there. Jack Nicholas. Section 103 is on Instagram, Section 103 and Section103.com. You can find us on Instagram at From the Rumble Seat. You can find us on Facebook and YouTube as well. You can find this podcast wherever fine podcasts are distributed. Until we speak again, good night, good luck, and go Giants.